I think we're just gonna follow Bruce's lead through all of this. Whatever he wants, we will support him.
You can't just do that and then I come over one day, Bruce is gone. Like, you can't just take that away from us.
What's your relationship like with Chris and the girls?
Chris, I really never talk to anymore.
I didn't want to communicate with you and be angry
What would you be angry for?
I love you.
Okay, I love you too.
The Kardashian family has kept their true feelings hidden for a long time when it comes to Caitlyn Jenner. The truth has finally come out, and it isn't all pretty. Some of the Kardashians don't fully accept Caitlyn. Kris definitely doesn't talk to her former lover, and apparently Caitlyn wasn't invited to Kourtney's wedding. From step-parent to stranger. That's a big gap. How do the Kardashians really feel about Caitlyn nowadays? I mean, Kim shared a quick birthday post on Instagram for Caitlyn's 75th birthday in October 2024. People were calling it the shortest Kardashian-Jenner birthday greeting in history. How beautiful. Happy 75th birthday, I love you, Kim wrote with a selfie of the two of them. Fans immediately picked up on how dry it seemed. There are a million ways to tell a person you hate them. This is at the top of the list, one commenter wrote. Another pointed out that Kim was the only one who even posted anything about Caitlyn's birthday. In response, Caitlyn, ever the class act, commented under the post writing, "Love you so much. Thank you for everything." It was a bit of a cold response, but hey, at least she acknowledged it. Behind the scenes though, it seems Kim was one of the only Kardashians to really stand by Caitlyn through her transition. Caitlyn always talks about how Kimberly, as she calls her, was one of the only family members to really stand by her. A source shared with In Touch Weekly. They were much closer than a lot of people realized, and Caitlyn says she'll be forever grateful for that. It seems like Kim did her best to support her dad during such a difficult time. In October 2023, Caitlyn opened up on This Morning via the Daily Mail about how she and Kris Jenner aren't exactly speaking anymore, even after everything they'd been through together during their 22 years of marriage.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is sad.
Because we went through a lot.
Yeah.
Kris, I don't really have any more contact with her. It's kind of sad because we went through a lot. She shared, revealing that any communication that does happen goes through her manager. That interview didn't exactly help the already tense relationship between the two. Now, when you look back, Kris and Caitlyn's drama really took off after Caitlyn's tell-all interview on 2020 back in 2015. This was the moment Kris, along with the rest of the Kardashian-Jenner family, first heard Caitlyn speak openly about her transition. Caitlyn said some pretty harsh things about Kris, calling her not very nice and saying she'd been mistreated during their marriage because Kris controlled the money, and all sorts of other things. The world was shocked, but those comments didn't sit well with Kris, to say the least. Fast forward to Caitlyn's book, The Secrets of My Life, released in 2017, and you can bet Kris wasn't happy. On an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kris got pretty emotional talking about how she felt after reading Caitlyn's words. Everything she said is all made up, she said, breaking down in front of her daughters. Why does everything have to be that Kris is such a bleep and a bleep? I've never been so angry and disappointed in somebody in my whole life. I'm done. So yeah, the tension was real. But then, in Caitlyn's 2023 interview, the tone had totally shifted. This time, Caitlyn couldn't help but gush about Kris. "I was just turning 40 and met Kris on a blind date. We hit it off from day one. Was it love at first sight? Pretty close to that, yes," she said. She even called Kris impressive, especially considering she had 4 kids and Caitlyn had 4 as well. They moved fast too, getting married just 5.5 months after meeting. It was quick, but Caitlyn felt a strong connection. "I was totally impressed with how she lived her life." When asked about what ended their marriage, Caitlyn took a more diplomatic approach, saying it was mutual and that there was no animosity between them. "When Kris and I separated, it wasn't because of those issues. It was for a million other reasons," Caitlyn explained. "We had a great relationship for a long time, we built an amazing family, but circumstances and people change." She added that the hardest part was trying to make those changes together and still stay strong. It's clear that she has some respect for what they shared, even if it didn't last. Caitlyn was also caught off guard in 2022 when she didn't get an invite to Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker's wedding in Italy. A source told Page 6 that she was shocked, and while Kourtney's brother Rob Kardashian was also absent, it was because he prefers to stay out of the spotlight. But for Caitlyn, it stung a little bit more, especially after all the family history. Then there's Khloe, who famously admitted to being mad about how Caitlyn handled her transition. On Keeping Up with the Kardashian, Khloe said, "What I was mad about is feeling like you are robbing me of having the opportunity to let go of my life on my own. When you're doing your big serious surgery, you can't just do that. And then I come over one day and Bruce is gone. Like, you can't just take that away from us."
This is very emotional for you, but you should be able to share that with your family. you know?
It's clear Khloe felt blindsided by how everything unfolded, especially given how close she and Caitlyn had been growing up. But by May of 2024, Khloe was still feeling a little sense of betrayal, particularly when Caitlyn became involved in the House of Kardashians documentary. Apparently, the rest of the family wasn't on board with the documentary, but Caitlyn was all in. There's this new documentary about our family, and apparently whoever's making the doc has been calling people who have either been in our lives or are still in our lives to do the documentary. Khloe explains during an interview on the Kardashians, and no one really has agreed to do it except for Caitlyn. In the trailer, Caitlyn seemed to throw some shade, saying Kimberly calculated from the beginning, "How do I become famous?" and laughed when asked about her relationship with Kris. It didn't sit well with Khloe. As for Rob, he might be the most low-key Kardashian, but he showed support for Caitlyn back in 2016, right after her transition. "I know how it can be to feel uncomfortable in your own skin," Rob told People at the time. "Everybody has their own issues. As long as Caitlyn is happy, I'm happy." It was a sweet, supportive sentiment, even though Rob had been somewhat of a recluse in recent years. But Rob's initial reaction to Caitlyn's transformation was something else. Kim recalled a funny moment when Rob didn't even recognize Caitlyn at first. Rob asked Kim, "Why are you sending me this? Who is this woman and why do I care?" She recalled. When Kim told him it was Bruce, now Caitlyn, Rob was in total shock, saying, "Oh my god, she's beautiful." The two quickly reconnected, and it was clear Rob supported Caitlyn no matter what. Kendall, the daddy's girl, had a complicated relationship with Caitlyn throughout the years. In 2020, she admitted that their bond had been growing stronger. "She could finally be honest with me. We could talk about deep emotions she was feeling through that time," Kendall said, noting how Caitlyn had never been open with her before her transition. But Caitlyn had a different take in 2021, when she mentioned that she found it harder to connect with Kendall. "She's always very, kind of a little bit more secretive. We're still very close, but it's kind of harder to figure out." That's what Caitlyn said, but the two have a lot in common, like their athleticism, which Caitlyn praised in a Him and Her podcast interview. Meanwhile, Caitlyn's relationship with Kylie has always been different. Kylie has consistently been the most open with Caitlyn, even calling her a hero. "My dad has always been an inspiration to me, from winning the gold medal at the Olympics to getting her pilot's license," Kylie said after Caitlyn's transition. But watching her live out her true self has been the most inspiring of them all. It's clear Caitlyn has a special bond with Kylie, and she even admitted in the past that they were the closest of all the kids. "Kylie and I just seem to be closer most of the time." Caitlyn confessed, "Kylie's more of an open book. She's just the exception to the rule." The Kardashian-Jenner family has definitely had a roller coaster ride when it comes to Caitlyn, with moments of tension and closeness mixed together. It's clear that Caitlyn and her daughters have a complicated relationship, but there's always been love, even if it was not always that obvious. What do you guys think? Why do you think the Kardashians distanced themselves from Caitlyn? Do you think they still have family outings? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you have a great day. Peace out.